Hi friends, welcome to my channel. Today I'm talking about a book which will interest you if you have recently seen this series on Amazon Prime, Angry Young Man, about Salim Javed. So this book is uh, written by Salim Javed by Diptakirti Chakrabarti. This book came out in 2016. I read it at that time, and then I was watching the series, and I love Hindi cinema, and I enjoyed the series. This is a three-part series. I thought that I will do a quick review of the book. If you want to know about Salim Javed's story, then this is a very interesting book, one of the better books, and it's fairly detailed. So, what this book does is it goes into detail of how Salim Javed came together. They met for the first time in 1966, and they were both struggling, and how their partnership formed slowly, and how they came to write some of the most influential books, some of the most influential Hindi films. I will not talk much about the movies like Sholay and Diwar, which have been written about a lot. But this book is interesting because it covers all the films they wrote. So there's a chapter on each of the scripts they wrote. So from Hathi Mere Sathi to Zanjeer to Diwar, obviously, and Sholay. But there are some movies that are lesser known, which I found very interesting. So there's a movie called Aakhri Daw, which released a week before Sholay. So Aakhri Daw had Jitendra as the lead, and this movie is interesting because it had all the trademark Salim Javed twists and turns and dialogues, but because it released a week before Sholay, and it was completely blown away by the success of Sholay. So yeah, not many people talk about that movie. So there is a entire chapter devoted to that movie. Then there are lots of interesting photographs in this actually, which I would love to show you. So they had see this. So when Sholay released, initially did not do too well, like first 2 weeks. So at that time, Salim Javed took out an ad in the trade paper, predicting that Sholay would be a big hit. So yeah, they were brash, they were arrogant. But let's come back to the book. So very briefly, what happened was that it was 1960s, mid 60s. Salim Khan had come to Bombay from Indore. He had come to become an actor, and he acted in a few movies. And Javed Akhtar had come to Bombay. He had this desire to be a director, and he thought that after assisting for a few years, he'll become a director. And he had this desire. He had grown up in Lucknow mainly, and his mother had actually. There's a unique thing about Salim and Javed. Their fathers were very distant figure in their lives. Javed's father was well-known lyricist Janisar Akhtar, and Salim's father was in Indore Inspector General of Police, and they were distant figures, and they were close to their mothers. And in both their cases, their mother passed away when they were very young. So they had come to Bombay, like at that time, Salim Khan to become a hero, Javed Akhtar to become a director. Javed Akhtar wanted to assist Guru Dutt and Raj Kapoor, but as luck would have it, a week after Javed Akhtar arrived in Bombay in 1964, he mentions that he arrived on 2nd October 1964, and within a week, Guru Dutt had passed away, and that is a well documented fact. And so initially, Javed Akhtar struggled a lot because he wanted to be on his own. He did not take help from anyone else. So they were both struggling. They met on the sets of a film called Sarhadi Lutera. Back in the days, movies were made, and dialogues were being written as the scenes were being shot. So as luck would have it, Javed Akhtar was a clapper boy. Salim Khan was one of the lead characters, and the dialogues were not very good. Salim Khan used to object a lot that they are very bad dialogues, and Salim wanted to write at that time. And Javed told the director that let me try and write the dialogues. In exasperation, director said, "Okay, you write it." He started writing the dialogues, which were liked by everyone. Salim was very impressed. A lot of people told Javed that you can be a writer, and then they started talking to each other a lot. Because they did not have much work, they started spending time together after work, and they discovered a lot of things about each other, and they started toying with some ideas about films. They wanted to make a difference in the way the films were made. They had lots of ideas. Then someone told them that, okay, there is a vacancy in SIPPI Films writing department. Why don't you go there? They went there and they kind of were taken on trial. They stayed on. They worked on scripts for films like Andaz, which had Shami Kapoor, Rajesh Khanna, and Hema Malini. Then they worked on Sita or Geeta. That is where Javed met Hani Irani and they fell in love and they got married. Both these films were fairly big successes. Then by that time, Salim and Javed had kind of formed an informal team, and Rajesh Khanna came to them. He wanted them to help him because he had taken a huge signing amount from a producer from down south who wanted to make a film. Rajesh Khanna thought that the script was terrible, and he was a superstar, and if this film got made, he might regret it because it was such a bad script. He asked Salim Javed to help him with the screenplay, dialogues, and making changes in the script, which is what they did. The film was Hathi Mere Sathi, and it became a blockbuster hit, and all those things happened. So net, Salim Javed ended up writing scripts for two movies which were released in 1973. One is, in fact, both the films were big hits, Janjeer and Yadon Ki Barat. Interestingly, both the films had the same script, but the treatment was so different that people did not realize it's the same script idea. And then there was no looking back, and they had a series of blockbusters, and all that is documented. What I like about the book is that it goes into detail of each film that they wrote, how their dialogues reflected the social reality of that time. So that was their hallmark. They would channelize all that was happening in society at that time into their scripts. So even a formula film like Chacha Bhatija, which they wrote, had lots of references and issues which were very live social issues of the time. Black marketing, right? Hoarding of food items, scarcity, corruption, all these were the angst of poor people. All this was reflected and channelized in the script. So yeah, I mean, they were very aware of the political reality, social reality, cultural reality, and it reflected in their scripts. So they may not have kind of set about or decided to create something called Angry Young Man, but yeah, they were very much aware of the social realities, and they wanted that reflected in the scripts they wrote. Other thing which is very impressive about them is the fact that they were both heavily into reading. They absorbed influences from all sources. So not just watching other films, reading the film scripts of great movies. They would read poetry. They would read pulp fiction. In fact, Javed Akhtar mentions that one of his guilty pleasure was that he loved reading American writers like Harold Robbins and James Hadley Chase, and a lot of these are reflected in their films. So I'll come to Aakhri Daw. That movie is actually, if you have read James Hadley Chase thrillers, that movie is like a James Hadley Chase thriller unfolding on screen. And imagine this was back in 1975. So that's the interesting part about them, that they were heavily into reading, and it kind of get reflected in the scripts they wrote. And in 1981 they split, and they had tremendous influence. In fact, throughout 80s and 90s, and even now you could see their influence on Hindi cinema. And they continued writing. After the split, Javed Akhtar is very well known as a script writer. I mean, as a lyrics writer. And Salim Khan wrote one very successful film called Naam, which came out in 1986. It resurrected Sanjay Dutt, and it had shades of Angry Young Man in Sanjay Dutt's character. And the movie was a blockbuster of 1986. One of their last scripts, which never got made earlier, which they wrote for Amitabh Bachchan, Mr. India, finally got made and released in 1987. And it was a huge success. Even till today, people remember that film. It established Anil Kapoor as a bona fide star. So yes, their influence remained. And their last hurrah was in 1991. Javed Akhtar wrote a film called Main Azad Hoon, and Salim Khan wrote a film called Akela. Both these films had Amitabh Bachchan as a character. So you could see the evolution of Angry Young Man from 70s to early 90s. Those films did not do too well at that time, but they are discussed a lot on the internet forums now. They had interesting themes, interesting exploration of the character of Angry Young Man in the late 80s and early 90s, and definitely worth a watch, those two movies. And then later on, Salim Khan took it easy, and Javed Akhtar became an established lyrics writer, and he still continues to write. Interestingly, in 2009 film of Zoya Akhtar, Javed's daughter, Luck by Chance, Javed had a tremendous influence on the script and the setting of the film. And if you have not seen the film, please go watch it. It's one of the best movies of all time. It was not a big blockbuster, but I can tell you, you watch that film and you can feel the Bombay film industry in every frame. It's like a love letter to the Bombay film. I think my camera stopped, so I could not finish the video. So I was saying that interesting book to read if you enjoyed the series and if you are interested in Hindi cinema. Very well researched, very detailed, a lot of interesting information, and also very good analysis. And I'm very impressed that it's written by somebody who has a day job. So the writer Diptakirti Chaudhuri is a corporate executive who finds time after work to do research and write books. So very impressive. Read the book. I love the cover also. It reminds you of very 70s look. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I promise you I'll be bringing lot more reviews of books that are very relevant to Indians. Thank you.